Welcome, leaders, teams, and those ready to take charge of their energy. It's Kelly Buboltz, your guide in workforce energy management. Burnout is not just a buzzword, it's a symptom of deeper root cause stressors. We're here to stop waiting for the change and start leading it. It's time to reclaim our energy and lead our days with intention and purpose. With any change, growth, layoffs, or even just development, so we have new software, we have new people, we have new processes, comes a team development curve. And Tuckman had a great model called the team development model, in which it shows that teams don't become high performing overnight, that there's a natural progression and a performance curve that they go through. And understanding these stages will help move it a little bit faster. Understanding these stages will help leaders and team members support one another through each stage, which in turn helps you navigate change more effectively. And when you don't understand which stage you're in, when you want to push through or push people past what they're ready for, the cost of it is getting your team stuck in a stage. And this breeds low trust. It brings in misalignment and lost productivity. So let's go through the first stage. The first stage is forming. And this is kind of your honeymoon phase. This is where team members are polite. They're excited to see what's going on, yet a little cautious. And then they're figuring out their roles. And what does this new environment look like? And there's some excitement, but also there's a little bit uncertainty and like distrust of what people are saying or interpretations of what they're saying. They might even have some weird underlying feelings of expectation. The dynamics feel a little off, but in general, they're in that honeymoon phase of slight denial that anything is going to change and that we'll just go through it the same as we always do. So in meetings or in just general interactions, you will see people maybe avoiding conflict or kind of burying it on the rug, not really giving any focus to it. They might have heavy reliance on leaders. So you're going to have like a lot more silence from the team and a lot more speaking from the leaders, looking for direction, looking for information and detail of what this looks like. And then you might have some hesitancy for people to take initiative because of that uncertainty. Now, how you can guide them through to the next stage is to set clear expectations. Here's our mission. Here's our goal. Here's how we're going to be affected by it. Here's the things that aren't changing, right? The uncertainty, get rid of some of that with some stability conversation. This is how we're going to work together. This is how we're going to work with this other team. Encourage open dialogue based off of that information. So what are your thoughts? How should we approach this? Giving that reflection time too, because again, this is new information. So giving some reflection time for them to be really creative and innovative with it. And then establishing that psychological safety. So it's okay for questions to come up. It's okay for people to speak up. Create that environment for them to pose the questions so you can answer them. When you don't answer them or when you shut that down and don't give it space, that's where gossip and drama and assumptions begin. This is a learning process for everyone, so give that space. Now, after forming comes the not so fun stage of storming. And this is the tension phase. And this is where probably your team will spend a lot of it depending on the change. What is happening is personalities start clashing. You might have differing opinions emerge. You might have frustrations surface. And some of those frustrations are from like past things, past changes, past experiences come up and you're like, what? Why are we talking about this thing from 7 years ago? But people start bringing up that in defense. You will have a productivity dip and it's pretty steep. So people start testing the boundaries. They start challenging leadership and processes. And behaviors that you're going to see is conflict, conversations. You're going to see people disengaging or isolating. You might see workload push off or people like, oh, I thought so-and-so was doing that. And that person's like, I thought so-and-so was doing that. That kind of like blame game going on. You might have a lot more resistance and negative feedback to the change. And then some people will disengage while others are pushing back more aggressively. So allow this stage to happen and give it, again, space in a more constructive conversation because you can move through this phase faster where production is just dipping on the daily throughout this change cycle. So what you want to do is facilitate that conflict conversations, that conflict resolution, and address it head on. Be clear, give it time, come from curiosity and understanding instead of we need to just get through this. We need to just push through. That doesn't support the group. You want to create an environment of that psychological safety to work through this. So a great way to start this conversation or open up that conflict resolution is let's address these concerns openly and find solutions together. And then you also want to probably clarify at this time some roles, some decision making, some owners of who's responsible for what and who to go to when issues start to escalate. And what this is doing, especially when you do it as a group, is clarifying who does what. So then it gets rid of this blame game because who does what. And then reinforce the shared goal, right? Reinforce the after effect of applying this goal that we're going through this change cycle. So something like, despite our differences and some of the things that are coming up throughout this change, we're all working towards the same outcome. And it moves it back to purpose. And people get less defensive, less blame game when you move with purpose. Now, stage 3 is at the lowest part of the curve, but it does move pretty fast if you can get it to the 4th phase. So in stage 3, this is norming. This is the lowest stage. We just went through that dip of productivity. Now we're here, which is norming. And this is the alignment phase. And beautiful things will happen here because you basically rebuild a new foundation of what this team looks like. And I don't want you to rush through this phase because if you can support it and create a strong foundation, it will naturally move on its own up. And you allowed it the natural energy to pull it. You didn't have to push. So what's happening in this stage is team members start trusting one another. They start seeing all that like misconceptions and muddiness go away because you just clarified roles and responsibilities. They start working collaboratively. And because roles are clear and because processes are being redefined, they actually see efficiencies. They see that light. They see the improvement of what this outcome is providing. Now, behaviors that you're going to see is increased cooperation. Whew, we're past the storm phase. They're willing to compromise. They're willing to work with other departments that maybe they were challenging before. They're more focused on constructive feedback than blame game, which moves you into problem solving, which moves you into results-oriented conversations. And then you're going to see higher engagement because obviously if the energy is thriving, people are more engaged. So how you can start to support up the curve, because now performance is going to go up now that you have this strong foundation, is encourage autonomy. How can we redefine workflows, or how could we work even better now that we're in this state of rebuild, right? Everyone knows a gap. Everyone knows a broken blinker. How can we use that to increase autonomy and start to rebuild something even better? Again, do you see the energy shift? Let's rebuild. Let's make it better. And it doesn't come from blame like a villain. It comes from a challenger. Let's do this better this time. In this stage 2, you're going to be celebrating progress and wins. You do have to go up the curve yet. So you can acknowledge, hey, we've been a long way. Let's acknowledge the growth. Let's acknowledge some of the hiccups, but let's also acknowledge the cleanup of our operation, the workflow and productivity optimizations that we've had because of this process, right? So celebrate those little wins. And then you can continue to foster a collaboration of feedback by still offering space for some of that conflict resolution. Hey, what's going well? What's not going well? What can we still improve upon? And this is going to kind of keep that momentum of continuous improvement moving forward. Now, the last stage, which is the sweet spot, that's performing. So basically you're going up the curve at this point and it's a high functioning phase. But the cool thing is if you took your time in stage 3 during the norming stage, you have a very strong foundation to go off of. I mean, you got team collaboration, you got great communication and trust going on. A lot of beautiful things will happen in this stage if you took that time. And that strong collaboration and cross communication is happening more effectively and naturally with less friction. And then the leaders can begin to step back from this change process and become more of a guide, more of a coach without so much oversight. So in this phase, you're going to see high trust. You're going to see accountability. You're going to see adaptability begin. You want to create agile teams, honor this process, this curve, this change that the team is going through. You're going to see problem solving be more proactive, right? Because they've just been through it a little bit. So now they want to be proactive and not reactive. And now you're going to be able to not only step back as a leader, but see your team challenge one another because they have this healthy conflict conversation and higher trust that you don't have to be the one always pushing as a leader. You can actually allow the team to challenge one another. Now the important part. So we went through form, we went through storm, we went through norm, and now we're in perform. How do you sustain this for continued growth? Continue to empower different decision makers. You don't always have to be the one driving change. If you empower people, you can actually tap into different skill sets you didn't know existed. So a great example is, say you're having a team meeting and something comes up in which you know one of your employees has expertise in. You can say something like, you have the expertise. What's the best way you suggest forward? Again, you're backing up as a leader because you're in that stage in which you know they can perform. You know that they have the right tools and details and information. Back up and let them drive. The other thing you can do to sustain is develop future leaders. So you just drove this change. You saw different behaviors come out. Who handled it very well? Who took the reins and was able to support the team when you were in meetings or not in the office? Who is ready to take on more responsibility? Can they fit somewhere else in product, process, or people type of leadership? Another thing is to keep the energy up. So can you continue this conversation in which the team wants to stay sharp? They want to continue to innovate, to have that optimization of productivity without getting stagnant. Because if you get stagnant, you might go through these stages again and begin at stage 1, which is the form. So to keep the energy up, can you keep that curiosity and that innovative, creative approach to your conversations? Every team moves through these stages, but awareness and proactive actions by leaders can help teams move through these stages not only faster, but with peak performance. Today's step matters. It's in the micro moments that real change begins. Managing your energy isn't about shame, blame, or disrupting your lifestyle. It's about the small, intentional choices to reclaim that natural energy. If this episode hit the mark for you, share with others. This journey doesn't have to be lost and lonely, but exciting and full of new paths. See you back here to continue the adventure.